Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now, guys? We're getting set for a title party, and before you know it, it's going to be the summer, and before you know it, the transfer window's going to be open, and you know what that means. It is shopping time for the Hoops as we prepare to go again in the Champions League, prepare to go again for another tedious treble. And this week, on the Wednesday, 5 o'clock, 5:30, I forget what time we put these out, that show, we are going to one of the most requested destinations we've had, and as usual, we've tried to let kind of the topic, the news, whatever's been going on in Planet Celtic over the last week or so, try and lead us in the direction of whatever topic we're going to cover in the video. And over some of these videos, we've actually covered like 2 leagues that have been in the same country. In this video, we are going to look at 2 leagues again, but we're going to cross a couple of different borders to get to the players that we're talking about here. The main reason for it is just, the amount of meat on the bone that we can put into a specific episode for each of the leagues in question that we feature in this video today. At any point, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And if this is the first episode in this series that you're watching and you do enjoy it, at the end of this video will be linked to full playlists, so you can go and check out the other leagues and regions and countries that we've already had a look at in this video, as we look to compile the most comprehensive, the most realistically ambitious wish list, hit list, whatever you want to call it, transfer list of targets for Celtic in this summer window. As always, guys, let your thoughts, feelings, feedback be known in the comment section of the video, of course. And let's just get stuck straight into it. Because like I mentioned in the intro, although we're letting the news kind of cycle, the rumour mill or whatever, lead us down the direction of where to look next, this is one of the leagues that was one of the most hotly requested consistently in this series in the comment section by you guys. And I'm talking about the Norwegian Eliteserien. And the main reason that we've had so many requests for this league, I believe, is because of the links we had in the January transfer window to Sondre Orjaester. Pretty sure that's how you say it. And he's been back in the Celtic news cycle recently because he revealed in an interview that when the speculation was going on, he went everywhere with his passport. Now this tells me first and foremost the deal must have been right close to getting completed. And from knowing Brendan Rodgers and seeing the transfer policy that he's adopting or trying to stick to in his time at the club, is that players are non-fungible. You can't just interchange one player for another and expect to get the same outcome, the same result. So if he does like a particular player, a particular profile, I could see us going back after this guy again if the deal was that close to being done, where he walks about everywhere with his passport. He's 21 years of age. He's one of the top performing, one of the highest valued players as well in the Eliteserien. He currently plays with Sarpsborg, and he currently plays with former Celtic hero, I guess is probably the best way of putting it, Stefan Johansson. And for a wide midfielder, a wide forward, a winger, however you want to think of it as, his performances in Norway have certainly grabbed the eye of just not Celtic scouts but other scouts across European and world football. And like I mentioned, he's now established himself as being one of the hottest prospects in Scandinavia, one of the highest valued players in the league as well. And he has started off there because in Norway it's a calendar year, so they've just started their season at the end of March here. So they've played 3 games. He's made an assist on his first game back and also won a penalty. And in the opening games, Sarpsborg have won 2 games, they've drawn 1 as well. And again, 90-minute player consistently. After last season, where he had a real breakout year, shown himself to be one of the key men for Sarpsborg. And as we can see here, he's even played up front for them on a number of occasions as well. But a guy that doesn't just score goals, but consistently can make assists. As we can see here, by the way, he's actually he's a pretty dab hand at winning a penalty as well, which, is something that we can kind of laugh about tongue-in-cheek, and you might think, oh, maybe the guy's good at diving or something like that. But generally, like, wingers that win lots of penalties are threatening. They put people on the back foot, they ask big questions of them, they force errors. And that's the kind of makeup of any great Celtic winger I've ever seen. And at 21 years of age at Sarpsborg, this is certainly a player and a club on the football, food chain, the kind of transfer market hierarchy, as it were, that we should definitely be looking to exploit if this is a player that the manager and the club have already identified, and financially we can make the deal work itself. Over his last 27 games in the last over the last 12 months, 5 goals, 6 assists, 3 penalties won, and he's also had a clearance off the line or a last man tackle on top of that. So he's a guy that's got proven work rate on and off the ball, defensively and offensively. He's a Norwegian youth international as well, and as you guys will know, the Scandinavian leagues, Norway, Sweden and Denmark in particular, have got quite an established track record of producing good football athletes, good football players as well, of course, depending on the position in question. And his transfer market value has really went up a gear over the last year or so. His contract expires in 2028, so Sarpsborg are probably going to demand a decent fee. I dare say it could be a record fee for them as well. Not really much in his pedigree before Sarpsborg to really look at and compare and contrast. But this is a player like, if you've already watched the highlight packages, which I'm sure a lot of us have, he's very direct, he's very strong, he's very quick. And a guy that's going to carry about his passport everywhere, just in case he gets that call from his agent to jump on a jet and go and do a medical, has got the right level of desire and ambition that if he came to Celtic, I would fully believe he would be completely bought into the project. And I don't mean that in a kind of demeaning way, but you're going to be part of the squad. We've got Champions League, we've got treble campaigns to go after this year, and you would play your role in the squad. And like I mentioned at the tip-off of this, for me, I don't think Brendan Rodgers is the sort of guy that, because we missed out on this guy in January, we just completely forget about him, cut ties and go and look somewhere else. I certainly think this is going to be a player that we're going to go back for again if the deal was that close to being done, or it was that probable, it was that close to being done. And in which case, there's maybe not too much merit to really looking across the rest of Norway, because there's only some specific player profiles and squad positions that we're looking to fill in this summer window. We covered that in a lot more detail in episode 1 of this series, so if you didn't catch that, make sure to check it out. It's a video where we looked at the domestic talent within the SPFL that we could look to sign in, Luke McKibben style. But you never know, stranger things have happened. We could buy more than one player from Norway in this window, and if we did, we might not need to look too much further than Sarpsborg itself, because Daniel Carroll's back here, who is a teammate of Sondre Orjaester and Stefan Johansson, has been playing up front for them for the last little while since returning to Norway from Heerenveen in the Eredivisie. And this is a player, very much a striker, who has hit the ground running on his return back to Norway. 4 goals in 3 games. And as soon as I seen this little record, and I know there's not much to go on here with him going back to Norway from Holland, it gave me big Kvitsgarden vibes, because I remember the first time looking at Kvitsgarden's tail of the tape, as it were, it was like punches and bunches. It wasn't necessarily he was scoring in every game or consistently all the time, but it was that he was getting little spurts of scoring 6 goals across 5 games and that sort of thing. This is his tail of the tape from the Eredivisie, so you can see Heerenveen gave him minutes, only 4 starts, 31 appearances off the bench, and he never really had or grasped the opportunity that was given to him there. But Norway have got a few players that have this same kind of profile here as Daniel Carlsbach, who have emerged in Norway as being like a prospect, a wonder kid, however you want to think of it as. Another team from the continent has bought them, has taken them on, and for one reason or another, it's not really cracked. It's not really worked out, and they've then again returned to Norway. And for a lot of these players, we can probably draw parallels with other players we've seen in Scotland, never mind at Celtic, where they try and get their big move and maybe it doesn't quite happen. They then try and consolidate their career and get themselves on a good footing before trying to get that transfer again and go and kick on their career. So guys like this, although Carlsbach has just returned to Norway, it might not be too likely you would see him move straight away and we would sign him in the summer. But if we are keeping tabs on this team and in this league, this is a guy that is already shown to be a top level prospect, and one that, again, if we're scouting Sarpsborg, we spoke about it in the the Belgian video, that I could see us maybe keeping tabs on and being linked to it as well. He's got 10 caps for the Norwegian under-21s. He stands at 1.94 m, so he's just about the 6'1" mark, and transfer value has been higher and it's on a bit of a low right now, but again, quite similar to Orjaseter. He's got a good under-21, good youth international pedigree, and because he has, been out elsewhere in the Dutch league, he's been exposed to different systems, living abroad, that sort of thing. So this could be a move that, not to replace Kyogo, not to be our next superstar striker or anything like that, but we do need another striker to come in, at some point in the season, and we need a guy that is hungry, has potential, and has quality that we're not just taking a chance on, and if he's crap, then we're done. And this guy could be a great fit. But since we've had the re-emergence or the return of Scaldini Liam Scales, it has brought back into focus Celtic's need to upgrade its centre-back. Now, I don't think, and we mentioned this in episode 1, this is a top priority transfer target that we'll be looking to fill out unless we got the right guy in the right spot. And I think Falou Fall here, on loan at Fredrikstad from Reims. And you might remember Reims from the French video we did. Again, a team that have got a very good eye for a player. And generally, you know, if you can get in amongst the sort of transfer market that they deal in, you'll be coming up with some high value prospects. He's been at Fredrikstad last season. They won the Norwegian Cup, and he has been one of their key men. A left-footed centre-back that has a lot of the physical properties and profiling that we would want. He's got great recovery pace. He's very, very powerful, very good in the duels, but very capable on the ball as well. And as you can see here with the statistics he's had for Fredrikstad, who are traditionally one of the minnows, one of the tiny clubs in Norway, they find themselves after 3 games in this season top of the league. They lost to Rosenborg, but they beat Vålerenga, beat Sandefjord here, and they're sitting top at the moment. And the big man's got a goal and a clearance off the line in the same match there in their second game. And having won the cup with them last year, this is a guy that's been a part of a winning formula, been a part of a winning team. And sure, it's like a minnow punching above its weight, don't get me wrong, but the fact that he's came from Reims on loan, I think should set off the sirens, the klaxons, that this should be a guy that we are monitoring, keeping tabs on. Again, he stands at 1.92 m, so, you know, a big tall strapping centre-back. That Norwegian Cup is a nice medal. I'm sure that he's going to be looking after a Senegal under-23 international as well. And with his loan to Fredrikstad, they actually have an option to buy him here. So this actually could be a move that could happen very quickly and very easily, because Fredrikstad, of course, winning the cup will get them some ability to qualify for the Conference League or whatever it might be sometime next year. But with what a lot of clubs do in this situation is they get that buy option, they wait for us to show an interest, they activate the buy option with Reims so that they buy him, and then they sell him on so they can make a couple of quid as well. And it feels like that's the sort of mechanism that might be that is in place here and could be exercised. If they're going to get him for like €1.5 million or so, we're probably looking at paying double that to get him out of Norway and into Scotland, of course. But a guy who's been around European football, certainly not to a high level, of course, previously at Serbia and at a lowly team in Norway. But like I said, the Reims connection here is something that does spark my interest, does spark my attention. And for a left-footed centre-back who's clearly got ambitions of playing at a much higher level than Fredrikstad here, he'll look to get himself back into the top ends of European football. This is a player I think would be very interested in coming to Celtic. And when you add him into the centre-back core of players of Trusty, Scales, Carter Vickers, and then you don't really need that fourth one. Somebody like Falou Fall here at 21 years of age can really increase the competition for position, as well as being probably the only centre-back in that list of players that could be a sellable asset in the near to immediate future. If he had a great season or two for us, again, we could see him going for a huge transfer fee because of the physical attributes and the core metrics that he's already shown to get him into Reims and, you know, have the career that he's had so far. Now, one of my favourite players from the Norwegian Eliteserien over the last couple of years has been Marius Broholm. Now, I was really excited when we signed Odin home, right, because he was on the young boy golden ball list and all that kind of stuff. It sadly didn't really work out for him, did it? But Marius Broholm is a very versatile player. The very first year I watched this guy quite closely, he was playing much more in centre mid and attacking mid, and he's a diminutive guy, quite similar in a lot of ways to someone like Rio Hatate. But the comparison, and it's not, you know, I think you guys know me well enough here to know what I'm saying or knowing what I'm meaning when I say this, but he reminded me much more of David Silva, which might sound like a really weird thing, but a small guy, low centre of gravity, really good in tight spaces, but also with a wee bit of a nasty bite about him. You know, he's no shy of getting a yellow card, he's not scared to tackle, but he's very much a forward player, a creative player, and subsequently Rosenborg have now started playing him up front and in right wing. Now, he is only 20 years of age, but if we zoom out and we look at his tail of the tape, his career so far at Rosenborg, he's had 27 starts, 15 appearances off the bench, 8 goals and an assist, which, you know, considering the variety of positions he's been playing, and Rosenborg aren't really vintage Rosenborg nowadays as well. They do have a top shelf wonder kid on their books by the name of Sverre Naipan, who looks to be signing for Aston Villa, and, you know, maybe we showed an interest in Naipan, who knows, certainly been priced out with the move, but someone like Broholm, again, I see this all the time when an emerging wonder kid, someone like Naipan, comes through the team at 16, 17, makes all the headlines, gets a big money move. There might be someone else in that squad who's just as promising, just as fledgling, but they're not 16 or 17, they're 20 or something like that, and they can kind of be overlooked or go under the radar. And I certainly think Marius Broholm is one of those guys. In the first 3 games of the season here, he's played in centre mid and 2 games up front, just off the right. He's got a goal and he's got an assist. But the back end of last year, he was one of their more influential, one of their more important attacking players here. Yes, he's chipping in with goals, but there's a lot of games here and there's a lot of actions throughout his time at Rosenborg that aren't going to be as statistically captured, like his penetrating runs, key passes, that sort of thing. But he's a player that 100% passes the eye test, and he's got enough statistics in here and enough versatility at such a young age that I think Marius Broholm, if we're looking to fill someone in an attacking position that does have versatility to offer lots of different solutions to different problems, he would be one of the top candidates for me. Again, a Norway under-21 youth international. His contract expires in 12 months when we get to the summer. So this is a player that, although has a decent transfer value, is maybe one that we could push Rosenborg into doing in this summer. And they might look at it as a great opportunity to cash in with Naipan leaving, sell Broholm to us, enforce their transfer kit a bit more, and then Rosenborg can go and do, their own business from there. So this is a deal that very much could be done, I think, on the levels of probability, his potential as well as the positions that he can play for us as well. So this is a move I would fully endorse personally. Now, one thing that was really pleasing to see with the Belgian rumours and the Belgian video that we did, the Celtic certainly seem to be hunting at the top of the food chain of these kind of lesser leagues across European football. And if we're keeping that at the front of our mind for this video as well, the top talent that I would love to see us going after that is somewhat realistic is Håkon Evjen. Again, one of these wonder kids that emerged through Norwegian football, went on to the continent, and it never really happened for him. He now finds himself back in Norway at Bodo Glimt, who have done very, very well in European football this season, of course. And Håkon Evjen has been a key part of that. Again, not a pace and power type midfielder, or, he is a midfielder, as you can see here, plays in the central positions, but, we could maybe deploy him in a wider area. But as a guy that is ripping with talent, techers, he's got a great eye for a pass, he's got a great eye for goal, and he moved back to Bodo like maybe about 12-18 months ago. So after this Europa League campaign is finished and they get into the summer, this is a transfer that we could perhaps go after. A good range of versatility as well, although it's not always shown here, but the different roles he can fulfill in midfield. And like we can see here with the Europa League run that they've had against Lazio and a number of other different clubs, he can do it in the big matches. He can play against these elite teams in European football at a team like Bodo Glimt. And yes, they've got a strong home advantage, and we've experienced that ourselves, but also going away and making the difference, making an impact on the match is something that he's shown he can be able to do. And with him being somewhat on the trash heap, finding himself back in Norway at the age of 25 after previous transfers not really working out too well, this is a move that could work for all parties involved. He's currently valued at €3 million. And at 25 years of age, again, I don't see the club really standing in his way too much if a bigger offer did come in from a team like Celtic. His contract is up in 2028, and genuinely €3 to €5 million for a guy like this, I think would be an absolute song. Previous stints include Bromby and Alkmaar, where he did play, so he has played in these leagues for these teams without overly excelling. And domestically, like in Scotland, if you can't do it in Norway or Holland, it's not a foregone conclusion you won't be able to do it in Scotland. And with the environment that we have in the platform of European football, with the talent and the ability that he has shown this year, this could be a great move for all involved. Now, I would say the top player, the top talent prospect in Norway also plays for Bodo Glimt, and his name is Jens Peter Høeg, but he has just returned there in the January window, so it's very unlikely he's going to sign back for Bodo in January, having won the Europa League with Frankfurt against you-know-who not too long ago as a bit-part squad player. But it's unlikely, having just returned to Norway, that JPH would be back in the transfer market this summer. So although I would put JPH ahead of Evjen here, I think that is a less likely transfer to materialise ultimately. Now, with Kasper Schmeichel only having one more year on his deal, there's always that kind of, is there a goalkeeper out there we could be looking for? And, I'm not saying this is one we should look at, but it did catch my eye, and I thought I would share it on the video today. The Einar Fauskanger here made his debut last season for Hogsund at the age of 16. Now, very rarely do you see 16-year-old goalkeepers make their debut. I don't know much more about him than what I've just explained to you already. He's a very much an unknown player. And again, the goalkeeper position is one that you're always forever looking at and evaluating. And a guy kind of similar to Christopher Ayard, if you can break into these teams at 16, 17, particularly in key areas like defence and goalkeeper, where mistakes and being green behind the gills can really cost teams, is a huge statement on the talent and on the potential that the club you're at see is having. So he's only featured once. It's not maybe a huge one to write home about. He's a youth international as well, of course, but making a senior debut at 16 definitely catches the eye. And then we have two centre midfielders in Norway that statistically really did grab the eye and I thought were worth previewing in the video today. The first one is Emil Kornvig, who is a Danish youth international, and he currently plays for Bran. Now, it says here he's had a little bit of left wing back versatility. He's kind of played out there, so fine if he can do that. But much more of a deep line, a centre defensive midfielder who, as you'll see from the statistics, can get a goal or an assist. 29 games in the last year, of course, but a lot more of his positive contributions in matches is on the ball and is defensively. He wins lots of tackles, he makes lots of clearances, he wins lots of duels and interceptions. A very busy midfielder in, a very busy team for the most part. Again, Bran are not a dominating side in Norway, and he does both sides of the game. He's not only just tackling and defending and all the rest of it, but in the first 3 games of the season so far, he has been an ever-present force for Bran. First game of the season here, he's managed to pull himself in 3 tackles, 14 duels won and only 7 lost. Huge volume, great success percentage, as well as some great passing statistics. Following that up in the second game against Strømsgodset with 7 effective clearances, a tackle won. The duels won is quite good, but he did actually lose more duels here than we would like to see, with 3 interceptions and again a nice range of passing into the front lines for being a deeper line player. But on the last game of the season they played again against Strømsgodset. I wonder why they played 2 games back to back. He's gotten a goal, he's got an assist, and he's also made a last man tackle, which is what it sounds like. 4 tackles in general, 2 blocks, 3 effective clearances, 9 duels won, only 6 lost, 3 interceptions. Again, a great array of passing considering he's a deep line defensive based player, and he is both sides of the ball. He transitions, he breaks forward as well. So Emil Kronvig here, currently valued at 1.7 million euros, could be the exact sort of profile that we're looking to fill into the Celtic midfield on top of Engels, Hatate, McGregor and McKeown. Someone that can do all things in midfield, which is the kind of profile that Celtic and Brendan Rodgers seem to be wanting to identify, who still has room to develop. At 24 years of age, isn't completely green behind the gills, has first team experience, but of course because he's at Bran, and if we look at his overall profile here, hasn't really done much around European foot. He's not like came from a prestigious academy. Yes, he's been in Italy, but this is like Serie B, where this isn't a guy that you would think on signing would make a difference to the best 11, to the first 11, but fits a lot of the profile in terms of physicality and football IQ that we would look at. And a guy that wears number 10 but plays defensive midfield, I think that kind of tells you a lot about the personality type that we've got here, or the profile of the player. And the second one is Felix Meyer, who again is a name that's kind of been around some circles, or was around a few kind of football scout circles a number of years ago. He's now 26, and he's also at Bran, by the way, so he's kind of maybe playing well with Kronvig, and they're kind of dovetailing quite nicely. But again, been a very key midfielder for them, one of the highest rated players in the Norwegian Eliteserien. In the last year, he's had 31 appearances, 5 goals, 7 assists, and 3 penalties won. So much more of a final third, gets into the box type midfielder, and he's actually now starting to get into the Norway senior national team without being capped in the last couple of windows, but he's getting those calls. And again, a very effective player for Bran. We've seen his goals and assist contributions earlier, but you can see with the statistics he's capturing alongside that he's not just a set piece taker or something like that, but he actually is like a great midfielder, a good football player, winning tackles, duels, getting into the box, playing balls into the box, getting on the end of crosses from his teammates, that sort of thing as well. And again, at 26, a bit more of a known entity, a bit more of a known quantity. You have to go back to September, where he got his caps for Norway, scored against Austria here, before playing the 70 minutes against Kazakhstan. So a player that in Norway has got a growing reputation, certainly. And, because he's 26, it's hard to imagine that you would bring him into Celtic and then 2 or 3 years later sell him for oodles of money. Maybe a bit more of a Stefan Johansson type signing, where you're really just buying him to make our team better, to make the whole project that we've got at Celtic much more well-rounded, and again just having different players that offer the sort of solutions that Brendan Rodgers is asking for. He's rated at 4 million euros. His contract expires when we get to the summer in 2 years' time, so not too much jeopardy on, he might go as a free agent, that sort of thing. Has a versatility to play deeper as well in defence, of course, and generally is a player that I really like the look of. I think the age thing might be the only thing that would hold him back from Celtic, just with the price point. It just feels that Celtic generally like them to be a little bit younger in this type of profile. And like I mentioned at the tip-off of the video, we're covering 2 leagues in this one. And again, like I said right at the beginning with Orjaseter, I don't think there's going to be too much shopping from Celtic in Norway, to be quite honest with you. But I wanted to bring him into the series because I think we might go for him again in the summer. And a lot of you guys were asking for us to look at Norway, so we had a bit of a cursory go around. We looked at the best guys statistically, did a bit of eye testing on a few of them. But ultimately, I think we want to be lifting our standards, lifting our level on the quality of transfer target that we're bringing in. And for that reason, the second league I'm going to slide into this video is going to be the Austrian Bundesliga, and we've got 3 players to look at for there. The number 1 player, if we are going to go to Austria and buy somebody that I would be saying to Celtic we should be looking at, is Dominic Fitz. He is in the last 12 months of his contract. He's been hotly linked to China. It's probably not going to happen now, but he is almost certainly going to be leaving Austria Vienna in this summer transfer window. A guy that is a striker but has been playing much more successfully recently in a centre mid and in an attacking mid position. He has that kind of power, physicality. He's not a slow guy certainly, but I don't think you would say he's overly rapid. And over the last year for them, you can see he has been essentially a one-man attack. 13 goals and 13 assists in 30 matches for a team that are in the top half of the Austrian league and doing well. But like I say, he is their key man. He is a striker playing in centre mid and doing very, very well, and again a very good footballer. It baffles me how Celtic haven't went in for this guy already, and it really does confuse me why other clubs around Europe haven't went for him. It makes me wonder and question the transfer value that Vienna are holding out for, as well as his potential wage package. His value is only €3 million right now, and I think that is flavoured with the fact that when we get to the summer, he's in the final year of his contract. An Austrian youth international who's not quite broken in to the first team yet, has had some experiences left forward, left winger, but great football IQ, great physicality, and a guy that scores goals and makes goals. There's just no two ways about it. Dominic Fitz for me would be a fantastic Celtic prospect, a guy that could really come in and have the right ambition level, the right profile that could add into our team, and with the versatility he has of being a midfielder or a striker, really ticks a lot of boxes. But I think we all know in midfield, if we were to go and get something in this summer, it's more than likely going to be a bit of an enforcer, a bit of a defensive midfielder, a guy who's got great physicality, a great nose for danger, and can just help protect the defence a little bit more. So the attacking players in those crucial matches have got a bit more freedom to take up those spaces and ask questions of the opposition. And for me, in terms of defensive midfielders across European football that are in this level of, price range and what league they're at, etc., one of the top guys around for me is Mamadou Sangare at Rapid Vienna. And we know somebody else from Rapid. We actually know a few players from Rapid Vienna. Nicholas Kuhn being our favourite one at the moment. And formerly of Salzburg, he's very much of the level to be a dominant player in the Austrian league, which is very much a football-centred division, similar to Holland and Belgium, where, style of football, good football players, good technical ability, good football IQ, interesting coaching solutions and tactics are the main theme that you get in these divisions. And this is a guy that, again, in a range of different matches in Europe and domestically, has been a consistently strong performer in all the defensive metrics you could ask for. He's strong as a tank, got a great nose for danger, like I say, and he has chipped in with some assists and goals here and there, so he's not as if he's a totally one-dimensional player, although he is clearly a defensive midfielder. He's currently valued at €6 million, and I think this would be great value for money for Celtic, because at 22, a guy that's came out of the Red Bull system, established himself as a first-team player at Rapid Vienna, and then playing Champions League football with us, as well as potential further domestic dominance and success. This is a guy that could be one of those players that you bring in for €5 million or something, and after a couple of seasons could be a sellable asset that further enhances the club after having a very successful time with us. He's got a bit of Conference League experience, and overall, he is a defensive midfielder. There's just no other way of putting it. He ticks all the boxes, and again, if we're going to spend this level of money on a player of this ilk, Mamadou Sangare would be one of my top picks, as well as Matthias Tafferner. Now, Matthias Tafferner is a player that I've been aware of for a number of years. He's 24 now, and this is a guy that is developed over the last couple of years, initially shown a lot of promise and a lot of potential, being one of the main set piece takers as a defensive based midfielder, like a CDM, a deep lying player. Over the last couple of years, his role and his ability has developed and has evolved. Now, attacking output hasn't really changed too much, as we can see over the last 25 games the last calendar year. 1 goal and 3 assists isn't anything incredible, but in terms of the midfield position that he's been given, he's now finding himself much more in an attacking midfield spot, and this is a guy that does play in the engine room, can go box to box, and has been previously enlisted predominantly as a centre defensive midfielder. So again, if we're looking for a midfielder that can do all things midfield, this is a guy that's really earned his stripes. You know, he's not been at a big academy, he's not been at a big club and been loaned around the place. He's been at a little club, he's cut his cloth, and he's really, as I say, earned his own stripes. His transfer market value is only 700k. So again, a player if we're looking to bring into the midfield depth that we've got here, a guy that would add quality, a guy that would definitely add competition and up the level that we've got there, is versatile enough that can play the deeper roles as well as any of the other advanced positions that we're going to try and put any midfielders into, and won't break the bank, I think is the most important element of a transfer for Taffner here. And as you can see with his history, again, he's not really been at any big situations or any big clubs, so an approach from Celtic you think would widen the eyes and would be something he would be very much interested in. But across both of these leagues, Norway and Austria, they could certainly have their own video totally going through the top 10, top 15 kind of quality targets available. But like I mentioned in different segments throughout this video and throughout this series, it's great to see when Celtic are looking in these other leagues that are outside of the top 5 leagues, we're looking for the best performers, make no mistake about it. And, you know, keeping that in mind, these are the guys that really lift off the page and really shout out, I could be, you know, a real candidate for Celtic to come after in the window, or could be a player that really could enhance the first team, could really enhance the squad, or could be a real transfer market asset for Celtic in the next couple of years going forward. I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. Don't forget to let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section down below. On screen now is the rest of the playlist of this series, as well as something else that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Stay out of trouble, hail hail, and mon the hoops.